Hello, so my name is Meg Haller, and I am the Pilot Grant Coordinator with the West Virginia Clinical and Translational Science Institute. If you don't know about CTSI, we are funded by the NIH, and our mission really is to establish cross-cutting research partnerships among our partner institutions and collaborating CTSA institutions to increase our research capacity and improve the health of West Virginians and Appalachians as a whole. We are really focused on these specific priority health areas: addiction, cancer, chronic lung disease, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, emerging epidemics. These sometimes change with our funding cycles. So these are our current priority health areas. The agenda for today, I'll talk mostly about the application process of our pilot projects and the funding opportunities that we have available. I'll offer some tips about reviewers and things like that. And I'll also talk about our other cores and the services that they offer, as well as I'll answer all questions at the end, which I typically would do. This is being recorded after our session because I forgot to hit record on the earlier session. So this is my do-over. So you won't hear the question and answer portion. This is just for those of you watching the recording. These are our funding programs. If you're familiar with the CTSI, some of these may look familiar. We added some with our renewal. So our open opportunity is our primary developmental funding opportunity. It is $50,000 and it is for 12 months if it's a basic science project, and it can go up to 24 months if it is a human subject project with recruitment. These are typically released once a year. We typically release them in the fall, but our RFA schedule is a little off because we were up for renewal with the NIH and we're like kind of still getting through that process. So our RFA schedule is a little off right now, but we do release those once a year. Our Jumpstart opportunity is used to obtain critical data needed to complete a manuscript submission or needed preliminary data for a larger grant application or resubmission. These are $10,000 for 6 months, and we typically offer these twice a year. Our launch opportunity is released with our open. It's to provide proof of concept funding to accelerate the translation of intellectual property. These are $50,000 for 9 months, and they are released once a year with the opens. Our rapid response is a newer opportunity. It's used to accelerate research toward an emerging health issue. We kind of piloted this with our COVID-19 pop-up funding opportunity, and we found that to be effective and successful. So we will release these as needed. They will be $30,000 for 12 months. Bench to Bedside is another new opportunity. It will have a basic scientist and a clinical investigator paired on a project as co-PIs, and that will be $50,000 per year for up to 24 months, and we'll release these in alternating years. So every other year, this will come out. So eligibility is not limited to WVU. Principal investigators have to hold a faculty or faculty equivalent position, but it can be from any of our partner sites. So we have CAMC at Marshall. You must hold an appointment in the School of Medicine. And we also have the Osteopathic School of Medicine and the West Virginia University, all campuses. Our current available RFAs are our open and jumpstart and launch. Our open and launch require letters of intent. Those are due June 20th. Our jumpstart do not require letters of intent. So full applications are due July 11th with the letters of intent. So you will submit your letter of intent if you are doing the open or the launch. It'll be reviewed. So you got to give several weeks for the reviews, and then you'll get an email from me, usually containing a letter that will let you know if you've been invited to submit a full application or not, and your reviews will be in there. And if you are asked to submit a full application, then you will then go through the full application process. But like I said, jumpstarts do not require the letter of intents, and the full applications for those are due July 11th. Now I will go over our available RFAs and kind of the nuts and bolts of an application. So here's our website. If you go to resources and services, research funding, if you go to the open competition, you can click on the complete RFA, or you can also find the LOI template here. Here's your LOI template. You'll include bio sketches in there, and then the only other thing is you're going to fill in these. So your project abstract, specific aims, and then a one-page project description. So the only really added piece to this is include the bio sketches for all the PI and all key personnel. And then let's go back to our Jumpstart and we'll open up that RFA. Let me go back to the top. They are due July 11th. You will find really everything you need to know in this RFA, but I'm going to go down to this portion. And here, so you have your face page. We use the NIH PHS forms. So this can kind of go into exactly everything you need for the application, what forms you use and everything. It's all listed in here, but I'll go through it. For the face page, you can use the NIH PHS blank form, or I have one that's like partially filled out that you can use on our website. I filled in some of the boxes and highlighted the ones that you need to fill out. The questions I get a lot are for the dates of proposed period of support. This is kind of a guesstimation. There's no way to really know when you're going to start until, we never know how long reviews and approval processes can go. For the Jumpstart, I assume they'll start sometime in the fall. Not sure. So it's a guesstimation. You're not held to the state by any means. So don't freak out or put too much thought into it. It's okay. And then for the second page, then you'll go to here. If you have co-PIs, you can use this form, and that would be your second page. And then if you do not have co-PIs, you'll go right down to the form page 2, and this would be your second page here where you put your project summary, relevance, and all your key personnel is listed there. And then you would use continuation pages for, like the research strategy and all that stuff in your application. You can include the table of contents if you wish. You will use the budget form from here. Here's your budget form, and then you'll use a continuation page as your justification, which I can show you. A continuation page is just the blank page here, and that's what you will use for really any extra page or anything you have in there that doesn't have its own form. You'll use the continuation page for that. Which all that is listed in here, telling you exactly what you need for all of them. The main difference, so our Jumpstart is 3 pages total. If you're asked to submit a full application for the launch or open, it's about 6 pages total. You'll see it has the same kind of box like this one as in our Jumpstart, same with open and launch. You'll see the same table where you can look at everything there too, but really the forms and everything is the same. So make sure for your research plan, you put appropriate section headings for your background, hypothesis, significance, innovation approach. You don't want the reviewers to have to look and search to find it. For references, you'll use a continuation page. Like I said, with the budget, you'll use that budget form and the form page 4, and then you'll use a continuation page for your budget justification. You'll include all bio sketches. You'll include a letter of support, so by your immediate supervisor, acknowledging their support for the project and providing assurance that sufficient protected time to complete the research will be available. Percent effort should be clearly stated in this. If you're doing an open and launch, you're required to have at least 10% effort. I will talk more about this budget section when we get back to the actual presentation. But I'm going to scroll on down and continue talking here. So if it's a human subjects project, you're going to have the little added forms. If it's basic science, you pretty much would have just do everything in that top table. If you have human subjects production, you have to come down to table 2 and make sure you include. Same with vertebrate animals. If you have those, you have a little extra to include with those as well. So for human subjects protection, you want to make sure you include these 1, 2, 3. So you need your 1, our human subjects template, which is downloadable from our site where it's in our forms tab. The NIH PHS inclusion enrollment report, which I know will look like this. When you click on it, you have to save it or download it and then pull it up and it should come up that way. I don't know why it does this. It can be quite the pain. But if you have any issues, you can email me and I can send it to you directly. And then our investigator initiated protocol, which is on our website. We have that here. This is this one. If you're not from WVU, you're from one of the partner sites, you probably have a similar form with your Office of Human Research Protection for investigator initiated protocols. If not, feel free to use this form or reach out to us and I can have our clinical trials team look into it and see more about that. And then if you're using vertebrate animals, you're going to include this section, and you're also going to need to include proof of IACOC submission. You do not need for the human subjects project to include proof of IRB submission. I know it does say that in our this final checklist. I need to update it. It does say here that you need that IRB submission proof, but you do not need that anymore. We no longer require that. But if it is an animal study, we still do require that IACOC submission. And you're going to need city certificates if it's a human or animal study. So if it's a human study, you'll need a minimum of 1 course from the human research curriculum group. If it's a vertebrate animal, you're going to need a course from the animal research curriculum group. And everyone on your project, so all named project personnel, including lab assistants, everybody who's going to actively involved in your project, we need a city certificate for them. And so please make sure you include them in your application. If you have prior CTSI or in-brief funding, here's some information of what we ask you to include. And here we talk about the review and selection process. And down here is all the instructions of how to upload your application onto iLabs. I'm going to pop back to the presentation. And I went over all of this, so I'm kind of going to skip through it. Something I didn't talk about was our mentorship agreement. So if you're an early stage investigator, you do need to include the mentorship agreement that's on our site, on the pilot forms and things like that. And it's in our RFA, I believe it's linked there as well. And it's required for all early stage investigators to have a mentor and include that section. This is that human subjects template I was telling you about. The first, so you have a 4-question tree at the beginning. You answer yes to all 4. It's a clinical trial and it would not be applicable for our jumpstart. So it may be a better option to do our open opportunity for that. If you have no at any of the questions, then it's not a clinical trial. So it would be eligible for the jumpstart. All human subject studies have to complete 2.1 to 3.2 on this form, and you do not have to do sections 3.3 to 4.7 unless it is a clinical trial. Then you do need to do those sections as well. With the budget, so some allowable and unallowable costs. For our jumpstart, faculty salary is not allowed. For open and launch, 10% of the budget can go towards PI salary. That's allowable. So allowable. We also have maxes with our publication costs and conference travel. I don't recommend for jumpstarts putting the publication costs, budgeting that in there, because it's a 6-month opportunity and usually there's just not enough time to do that, and they can go unused or have to be reallocated. So just something to think about. You can include them if you really think you can use them and get that done, but it just isn't always feasible in the 6-month timeline. We don't allow student stipends, but students can be paid hourly. Some of our funding priorities. Before I get into those, I would like to show an example application. So let me pull that up. So here I have a little sample application. This should be up on the site as long as I get the okay to put it up there, but it just shows kind of what your face page would look like and just how it's set up. So this is like your second page where your key personnel is listed. This is where you're going to put, your research strategy, specific aims, all that stuff, using those continuation pages that I talked about. Here's your budget. So on this, you have, this is an example of a Jumpstart human subject project. So it doesn't include any salary. They are going to use an undergraduate research assistant and pay them hourly. So they included that in there. All kinds of stuff that you can use, participant incentives, supplies, analysis softwares that they're budgeting for. And then all of that is justified down here, and the budget justification, explaining everything. And then the bio sketches. So you want to watch out that NIH is always changing things, and they recently changed how the bio sketches are kind of set up. So you want to pay attention to that. But all key personnel, you need to have their bio sketches in there. I'm going to go kind of quickly through these. These are our, our PI and our COI were the only key personnel listed on this application. So these are their bio sketches. It's a human subject study. So here is their human subjects template, as well as their protocol. This is where the letter would go, signed by the supervisor that I talked about with their support. Here's the inclusion enrollment report. This is also one of those guesstimation things. You're going to do your educated guess. So you're going to use census data for your area to kind of make estimates of your study sample. The total number is going to be how many you plan to enroll if you're enrolling and recruiting. And then these are just guesses of the ethnic categories. You're not held by this by any means. There's no way to really guess or be sure. It's just an estimated educated guess based on US Census data. Here's an example of a city certificate. You're going to have one of these for every personnel listed in the application. This is a human research study, and you want to pay attention to that expiration date. Sometimes people accidentally submit ones that are expired or really close to expiring, so you just want to watch out for that when you're putting those in there. Let me go back to the application or the presentation. Our funding priorities, these are our current funding priorities, ESI or clinician-led projects, projects that utilize the PBRN, partner institution PIs, and anyone within our thematic research priorities that I discussed earlier. You can get up to a point taken off, so 0.25 per funding priority that you meet. So if you're an ESI, 0.25. If you meet one of the research priorities, you can get another 0.25 taken off, but it can only be a max of 1 point. Some insider tips on what are reviewers looking for: the future direction of your project. Do you have any external application plans? Where is this project going? They want to see what the plans are with it. They want to know that there's a direction that this project is going. Feasibility, especially for Jumpstart, you want to show that it's a 6-month timeline. It's really, really small. You don't want to be overly ambitious. You want to show that it's a project that is feasible to be done in the project period of performance. Did you consult with other CTSI services? Your publication track record, if you may be lacking in some areas, do you have someone on your team who can compensate for that, or has, more of a publication record in something or more expertise in something, appropriate mentors, grantsmanship. Something to think about if you're doing a clinical study and you plan on applying for a pilot grant, we're encouraging you to present it at one of our Idea Labs. This is where you can receive feedback from our PI Academy panel of experts. So you can contact Debbie Lee, or you can reach out to me and I can connect you to her. If you're interested in this, this is where you would, present to a panel of experts on your project and get some advice on it, come with some questions on your project and some, maybe hurdles you're dealing with, or you're not sure, where you should go, or what, you're just not sure about some things and you would like some advice. This can really help, especially if you're submitting a pilot grant, because you can take all the advice and everything that you collect from there and include that in your application and really enhance it. Our core services, so we offer a lot, and you can really, if you want to dig a deep dive, just go through our website and look at everything, but I'll do a little brief talking about our different cores and the services that they offer. Our clinical research, study design, epidemiology, and biostatistics core. So they offer study design services, statistical analysis, bioinformatics, geographical information systems, REDCap support, Trinetics, data request consults. They handle all that stuff. It's really great. If you get a pilot grant, you really can utilize pretty much all of CTSI services free of charge if you're awarded a pilot grant. So that's a really, really nice bonus. Our clinical research and resources, our clinical research resources and facilities core. They offer services in protocol development, study coordinators, regulatory support, and regulatory compliance. If you are awarded a pilot grant and it's a human subject study, you will be required to utilize their regulatory support, and it's all free of charge when you have a pilot grant. And you can also utilize their study coordinators free of charge. The professional development core, so they hold research seminars, they have MS, PhD certificate programs, mentorship matching, their research scholar program, interactive grant rating groups are really great if you're planning on submitting an NIH application. If their FACS is the Female Advancing Clinical and Translational Science. It's a professional development and networking group focused on empowering women conducting clinical and translational science. So if you fit in that category, I highly recommend joining the group. They're really great. If you're interested, you can email me and I can send you, link you with the right people. But you can also check out on the website. The professional development has a lot of information and contacts on there as well. Like I said, you can deep dive any core on our website. Our community engagement and outreach core, so they connect investigators to community partners, community study design and implementation guidance. The West Virginia PBRN and Project ECHO are all located in our community engagement and outreach core. Some resources. So on our site, we have all the pilot forms, templates, and resources. Become a member. So if you're applying for a pilot grant, you're required to become a member. It's really easy on our website. If you click on join now, you can become a member. It's free of charge. You'll be added to our weekly newsletter, which will include all information on funding and professional development things we have going on. We have a pilot grant essentials YouTube series. Our PI Academy is really great, something to think about. That's where Idea Lab comes from, but our PI Academy, they offer a curriculum on SOUL. It's really awesome for new and early stage investigators if you're doing clinical research, especially clinical trials. Really, really, really awesome information in there. So I highly recommend it if you are especially a new or early stage investigator doing clinical research, to check out our PI Academy. My contact information, any questions, anything comes up, please feel free to reach out. Don't forget that for our summer 2022 funding opportunities, our open and launch LOIs are due June 20th, and our Jumpstart full applications are due July 11th. Please, please, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.